You have a friend, smart, warm, funny when they're around, genuinely one of your favorite people. But here's the thing, they have never, not once, texted you first. Not a "hey, how are you?" Not a meme, not even a birthday gif. You always reach out. Always. And the moment you do, they respond instantly. Full paragraphs, exclamation points, pure enthusiasm. So what is going on? Because it's not that they don't like you, it's not that they're busy, we're all busy, and somehow we still fire off a thinking of you at 11 p.m. It's something else, something quieter, something that lives underneath the surface of their phone screen in the part of them they haven't quite named yet. Maybe it's you, maybe someone you know, maybe, and stay with me here, it's both. Today, we're cracking open the hidden psychology of people who never text first. And I promise you, what's underneath is far more interesting than "they just don't care." Because, spoiler, they almost always do.
Picture this. Someone picks up their phone, opens your chat, starts typing, and then stops, deletes it, puts the phone face down, picks it back up, types something different, deletes that, puts it away, lies on the ceiling for 20 minutes. The message? Never sent. This is the overthinker, and their inner monologue is a full production. Will this come across as needy? Is it too soon? What if they're in a meeting? What if they're not in a meeting and they just don't reply for an hour? What if that mean? By the time they've finished stress testing every possible interpretation of "hey, what's up?" they've decided it's safer to say nothing at all. Psychologically, what's happening here is a form of anticipatory anxiety, the brain running worst-case simulations before an event even occurs. It's the same mechanism behind rehearsing arguments in the shower or rewinding a conversation from 3 years ago. The overthinker doesn't lack warmth. They have too much of it. They care so deeply about the interaction going well that the fear of it going wrong becomes paralyzing. Silence feels safer than a misstep. If you know an overthinker, reaching out first isn't a burden. It's actually a relief to them. They were probably thinking about texting you anyway.
Then there's someone a little different. They don't spiral over word choice. They spiral over the outcome. Specifically, the outcome where you don't write back, or you write back with one word, or you take 3 hours, and they spend those 3 hours constructing an elaborate story about what that means about their worth as a human being. This is the fear of rejection avoider, and their logic, though it doesn't look like logic, is actually very tidy. If I never reach out, I can never be rejected. It's protective, it's preemptive, and it is, quietly, exhausting. This pattern often traces back to early attachment experiences, moments in childhood or adolescence where reaching out felt risky, where bids for connection were met with inconsistency or dismissal. The nervous system learned initiation is vulnerability, and vulnerability hurts. So they wait. They let others come to them, not out of arrogance, out of armor. The painful irony is that this avoidance often creates the very distance it's trying to prevent. People assume they're not interested. They pull back. The avoider reads that as confirmation of their fear. The cycle tightens. Here's one that might hit a little closer to home. These are the people who genuinely believe, on some level, in some quiet corner of their self-concept, that they are a burden, that their text will land on someone's phone at the wrong moment, that their need for connection is an imposition, that the people they love have better things to do than hear from them. So they don't reach out, not because they don't want to, because they've decided somewhere along the way that wanting to is already too much. Psychologically, this is rooted in low self-worth, often shaped by environments where emotional needs were labeled as too much, or where love felt conditional on not asking for too much. They learned to shrink, to wait to be invited, to exist in the relationships of their lives as a guest, never a host. What's heartbreaking about this type is that the people who love them would absolutely want to hear from them. The math in their head just doesn't reflect the reality outside it. But here's the twist. Not everyone who doesn't text first is carrying emotional weight. Some of them are doing something that looks, from the outside, identical, but comes from a completely different place. Meet the autonomy protector. They don't text first because they genuinely don't feel an urgency to. They're comfortable with silence. They don't interpret a quiet week as distance. It's just a quiet week. They assume the people they care about are living full lives, and when the timing is right, they'll connect. No anxiety, no avoidance, just spaciousness. This style is often found in people with secure or dismissive avoidant attachment, particularly those raised in environments where independence was celebrated and alone time was a gift, not a punishment. They're not cold, they're not checked out, they just have a different internal rhythm, and they assume, sometimes incorrectly, that everyone else shares it. The friction comes when an autonomy protector is close with a rejection avoider or an overthinker. One person's comfortable silence is another person's, "Did I do something wrong?" Understanding this gap isn't about changing who you are, it's about translating.
And finally, perhaps the most bittersweet of all, there's the person who doesn't text first because they are, quietly, waiting for you to. Not as a power play, not as a test, just because somewhere in their inner world, being reached out to first feels like evidence. Evidence that they matter, that they were thought of, that someone's day had a moment where they appeared in it. This person checks their phone more than they'll admit. They notice when a day passes without a message. They feel something left when you reach out, not because they're needy, but because that small act of initiation says something their inner critic is always trying to argue against. You are worth the effort. The psychology here weaves together attachment needs, self-esteem, and the very human hunger for being chosen, not because you texted first, but because someone wanted to. So here we are, 6 inches of glass between people who care about each other, a blinking cursor, and all this invisible machinery running underneath. The person who never texts first isn't always aloof. They're often afraid, or self-protective, or quietly convinced they shouldn't need too much. Sometimes they're just wired for independence, and sometimes they're simply hoping someone will remind them they're worth reaching out to. Which type resonates with you? Are you the one who overthinks the message into oblivion, or the one who's been waiting for a text you convinced yourself not to send? Drop it in the comments. I'm genuinely curious. And if this one landed for you, there's a whole library of videos like this one waiting. Subscribe, and I'll keep showing up in your feed. No overthinking required.